Today we're gonna make mango ginger chutney. So I thought I would start actually with slicing some mango. This is, I believe they're called Alphonse mangoes maybe, or champagne mangoes. These are my favorite. They are small and sweet and delicious. There are a lot of different ways you can slice a mango. This is actually not the way my dad did it. My dad would, back when I was growing up, the kind of mangoes he could get were the big green ones most of the time, and he would start with peeling it and then slice the meat. I find that a little tricky, so I tend to go this way, which is maybe a little less efficient. Now, Kavya doesn't like jam, which I do not understand, because jam is basically fruit and sugar, and she likes fruit and she likes sugar.
Isn't this a video about mango?
It is, well, okay, but I'm saying chutney is very similar to jam. So, and I don't actually know whether Kavya or Anand likes chutney. They have not told me yet. I'm not sure if they've had it.
I'm not sure I know what chutney is.
So, well, I don't actually know that I have a definition for chutney. Chutney is when you take some fruits or vegetables, but you actually, usually you cook them down, generally, you don't really have to, but usually you cook them down with some more savory sorts of aromatics like onion, ginger, certainly some spices. So you're adding a whole bunch of flavor to whatever fruit is, and then you serve that with rice and curries. Chutneys are also really great on sandwiches, like a roast chicken sandwich with some fruit chutney is delicious. Okay guys, so we are back. We're gonna move on to the ginger in a second. First, we do need to add about a teaspoon of salt to the mangoes, and it's you know, you can be pretty flexible about this. I'm doing 3 mangoes here, so all right, ginger. So here's a lovely knobby piece of ginger, and we want this pretty finely minced. Now you could do it in the food processor, but honestly, I find it's, you have to peel it first anyway, and I find it's usually just as easy to go ahead and chop it. So peel it, and if there's any little knobby bits sticking out, you can just cut those off. You really just want to get something fairly even. Okay. All right, and then we want some thin slices to start. It's a little harder to do the slices as you get towards the end. Be careful.
Don't cut yourself.
I won't cut myself, but also don't rush it, okay? Then once you have the slices, you can lay them flat. Usually I do 2 little piles. And now we're gonna make some strips. And again, you want it nice and fine for this. Okay. So, and then again over here. So, and you crisscross and mince it, or come as close to mincing as you can. Mincing is very, very small cuts as opposed to dicing or small dice. Okay, so here we go. Next step should be a fairly quick step. We're gonna take the ginger, we're gonna add it to a cup of vinegar. So this is, I used what I had on hand, which was white wine vinegar. You could use regular vinegar or malt vinegar, probably not red vinegar. And then this is an optional step. If you want it to be a little bit spicy, you can add some chili. And usually when we're making curries, we just put the dried chilies right in, and the seeds are part of what gives it the heat. But you don't really want to bite into a whole lot of seeds when you're doing this. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take out any seeds I find. And one key thing, it's actually not the most seedy thing, which is fine, but there's some. And one key thing here is, Kavya, do you know what you should do after cutting chilies or breaking open chilies?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands, yes, wash your hands very thoroughly with soap and water.
Because then if you touch your eyes.
If you touch your eyes, as I did last week, I was cutting some green chilies. Whoops. Here I was.
That's not good.
I didn't do a great job there of breaking that one open, but it was sort of a twisty one. So it was,
What
would
were
have
you
been
saying
hard
about
to.
last week?
Last week I was cutting some green chili, and I think I was using the ones that Auntie Rashani had recommended that I try using, which were the finger hot ones, and they are hot and flavorful and delicious, and all of that is great, but I did touch the side of my eye and it was quite painful. So not quite the inside of my eye, but still. Okay, so there we go. We've taken the seeds out, and so now we're just gonna put the chilies, careful don't put the seeds in, we're gonna put the chilies in there and let them soak for about 10 minutes. And then we will come back for the actual cooking, or actually the blending and then the cooking. Okay, back soon. Okay, step number 4, I think this is. We need to blend all of this. So we've got the vinegar, the ginger, oops, and I'm gonna need a spatula. The ginger, vinegar, and chili pods that have been soaking for about 10 minutes with the seeds taken out. Now you can do this in a big blender, or my little one here. You can also, if you would rather go old school, get yourself a mortar and pestle, grind up the powder, and then you could, instead of having minced the ginger, you could grate the ginger into it. So if you want to do that, it's more labor intensive. It is what a mama would have done back in the old days. Here we go. So we're going to put this on nice and tight. We're going to put this here, and now this is going to be loud. So we've got a nice puree of ginger. I know it's a little drippy, of ginger, vinegar, and chili. And now we're gonna cook it. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, next up, we're gonna take this mixture of vinegar, chili pods all crushed up, and ginger. You can scrape it out if you need to, but it came out pretty well. Okay, and now we're gonna add 2 things to that. It needs 3/4 to a cup of sugar. I'm gonna just do 3/4 of a cup because I don't really necessarily want my chutneys to be super sweet, but you can definitely go on the sweeter side if you prefer. If you want to use brown sugar, you could. If you want to use jaggery, you could do that too, which would give it a great dark flavor. And then plenty of, I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon of, which I think is a little more than the recipe called for, but I'm putting about a tablespoon of dark roasted Ceylon curry powder, which I make myself, but if you buy it online, you can buy it from me, but you can also buy it in Indian stores or online. Look for Jaffna curry powder, and that's how you will know that you have the right stuff. So now there's really not so much more to this. We're going to bring this to a boil, and once it is, get it nice and blended, all the sugar will dissolve, and then once it's come to a boil, we're gonna simmer it for 15 minutes and then add the mango and some sultanas. So we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, here we go. So we've stewed the ginger, chili, and vinegar for 15 minutes. So the ginger should be nice and soft and vinegary at this point. We're gonna add in golden sultanas, essentially raisins, slightly different flavor. You can of course make chutney with any fruit you want, I would think. So if you want a little more tang, you could use cranberries instead of sultanas, but sultanas are classic. And then here comes all of the glorious, delicious mango. Which is really what this is about. So the liquid gets sort of thick and syrupy, and the mango will pick up the flavor. So I don't really have a time for it exactly. I would guess at least 10 more minutes. And in fact, what I would do is, because you put the fruit in, it's cooled down the temperature a lot. So what I do is I would go ahead and turn the heat up, let it come back up to a boil, And sorry about that clicking. You may have heard a bunch earlier. My burners sometimes get misaligned a little bit and then they click, especially on the highest setting. So, all right, so now it's nicely mixed. We're gonna bring it back up to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer and then let it simmer until the liquid gets nice and syrupy. And then I'll come back and we'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right, so we've turned the heat back up to like medium high, and the liquid has mostly boiled off. And I would say this is basically done. It'll thicken a little bit more when it's sitting. So we're gonna turn the heat off, and you know you've got a couple options at this stage. You can put it in a jar, and using proper canning procedures to be safe and not give anyone botulism. You can, if you know how to do that, then you can store it in the pantry for months unopened, or you can put it in a jar and put it in the fridge and keep it for probably, I would say, 2 weeks. And but we're actually not going to do either because we're going to be serving this on Sunday at the party. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and put it in the bowl I'm going to be serving it in. I'll let it cool down, and then I will put plastic wrap over the top and store it in the fridge for a few days. And then we'll serve it fresh to go along with rice and curries. So there you go, a beautiful mango ginger chutney that is boilingly hot. So I would not taste it right now. So but it's tasty. So this is me, Marianne Mohanraj, with my daughter, Kavya Whyte. Hi. My fearless videographer, and this was Sri Lankan mango ginger chutney. Thanks.